Now, there are many Hollywood actors out there, for example, grouping together and calling out other Hollywood celebrities for their lack of common sense. Thankfully, unfortunately, we do have those out there like Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone, even Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was once the governor of California, that's now really calling out all of the Hollywood celebrities for really acting the way that they are by getting way too political and taking things out of line and crossing the line, quite frankly. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, as many of you may very well know, just a couple of days ago, I believe it was on November 16th, we had the Governor Awards, which were, of course, a very big moment for many Hollywood actors out there, like Tom Cruise, for example, accepting his honorary Oscar. And what's interesting about Tom Cruise is that he's been really beginning to display his view on Hollywood celebrities, his view on Hollywood actors, actresses, writers, and directors getting way too political, and like I mentioned before, out of line, crossing the line, and really just shying away and shoving their audience to the wayside. What's interesting, though, about all of this has a lot more to do with what actually happened between Tom Cruise and Robert De Niro, who also attended the Governor Awards of 2025. Now, we know one thing about this awards event that took place is that parts of it are going to be incorporated, by the way, into the Academy Awards in March of 2026, right around that time frame. So, elements of that award show that just took place on November 16th, you will see actually parts of that in next year, alright, in March of 2026. What's interesting here, though, is that with a handful of Hollywood actors beginning to group together to call out and or act against other Hollywood celebrities, as I mentioned before, who politicized Charlie Kirk's death or pushed an anti-Trump agenda, one monumental development going on now involves more to do with both Tom Cruise and Robert De Niro and what went down at the Governor Awards. It turns out that prior to the event where Cruise accepted his award, get this, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, who organized the event, were pressuring and begging Tom Cruise to share a special message about Hollywood on stage with actor Robert De Niro. The message that the Academy wanted Cruise to deliver with Robert De Niro by his side was about the political landscape in Hollywood and how important it is. Robert De Niro, as expected, was fully on board and excited to do this with Tom Cruise, but not so shockingly, Tom Cruise shot down the entire proposal and offer by the Academy, and Robert De Niro, to no surprise here, was reportedly hurt and embarrassed over Cruise turning down this big opportunity to share a message with Robert De Niro on stage. Now, the Academy believed that this was going to create a viral moment for the event, and though this was not broadcast, as I mentioned before, the Governor Awards are traditionally incorporated into the Academy Awards in March of every year, which is what ABC wanted to do with both Tom Cruise and Robert De Niro on stage, to deliver how they feel actors expressing their politics healthy for the country in their mind, something that Tom Cruise flat out rejected and did not agree with and was offended by. Now, this of course sparked a grudge between both Tom Cruise and Robert De Niro, where photographers, get this, at the Governor Awards toward the tail end of the event, as the actors were exiting the building, were seen taking photos. Tom Cruise at one point was seen walking near Robert De Niro for a potential photo op to take a step back after getting off on the wrong foot, only to find that Robert De Niro, without hesitation, walked away from Tom Cruise at the Governor Awards and snubbed the Last Action star, known for his films like Top Gun, Maverick, and Mission Impossible. This is when Tom Cruise took photos with actress Sydney Sweeney and other actors on the spot for the photographers to take that opportunity. Now, guys, let me just stop right there for one moment about this. Now, this just goes to show you how thin-skinned Robert De Niro really is. If I were Robert De Niro, I would have been like, big deal. Tom Cruise doesn't want to take part in this, fine. He has a different view on things. Let's just take the photo together. But Robert De Niro, as usual, snubs those that hold a different political opinion than his own. And he obviously got very hurt. Now, we know one thing about all of this is that Tom Cruise, whether you like the guy or dislike the guy based on his religion, that's one thing. But you have to admit, his overall protection of Hollywood goes beyond limits. It really goes beyond boundaries, what he's trying to do. He's trying to keep Hollywood the way that it used to be, and really preventing it from going in a downward spiral, which it is already. Let's be very real about this, but he is the true last action star. I mean, name one other actor that does all the stunts that this guy does, or goes through all the safety precautions that Tom Cruise does for months and months on end. This is why it takes a very long time for his movies to come out. In fact, one of his movies, believe it or not, he is going to actually go up into space. You know, look it up. This is an actual thing that's happening, that's brewing behind the scenes, and he's got 3 movies in the works right now besides Top Gun 3. Now, coming from De Niro's team, he was reportedly deeply offended over Cruise refusing to promote the message that actors should always spread their political views onto the American people. This message that, of course, the Academy proposed them to do on stage. Tom's debate toward the Academy and ABC was that actors should never fall into politics and only invest themselves in doing the best at what they do, to take people away from reality for a short while. That was Tom's only message to the Academy on why he refused to join Robert De Niro on stage. Cruise also reportedly has personal problems with actors who politicized Charlie Kirk's death and those who mocked Trump. However, according to Tom's team, this does not translate to him taking a political side at all, but rather staying neutral and focusing on his movies strictly, as he is working on Top Gun 3 right now as we speak. So, we know that Tom Cruise is working on Top Gun 3, and following that, there's going to be a project where he does plan to go to space. Literally, to actual space. And I think that's going to be quite something. Now, that's obviously going to be a far ways off, because where it stands right now, the Top Gun 3 script, it's still being written as we know it. They have a long ways to go until this thing's going to be all filmed and ready to go into theaters. I'm expecting, and the film industry and many other studios out there, they've also expressed that they expect Top Gun 3 to not hit theaters until at the bare minimum, maybe 2029. But what's interesting here yet again is that Tom Cruise, he's in his 60s, and he's pulling off all these stunts. He plans to go into space, which is absolutely insane. And look, this is going to not be anything like a Katy Perry situation where it wasn't actually really space. Tom Cruise does plan to actually go up into legitimate space to film a scene for one of his upcoming films that are actually set to be science fiction focused. We know one thing about Tom Cruise for sure is that he really is trying to take things beyond any actor's limits in history. And I think it's going to be quite something. Whether you agree with his religion or not, I don't agree with his religion at all. I find it to be very odd, to say the least, but I actually isolate that. I focus on him as an actor. I focus on his merit and his values as an actor, as a filmmaker, as one. You could also consider him a stuntman, basically, right? I mean, he does all his stunts, but I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments between Tom Cruise and Robert De Niro and everything else in between at the Governor Awards, and everything else, of course, between himself and Sydney Sweeney having a casual conversation. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.